Welcome, affiliated listeners, to another amazing episode of the Affiliated Podcast, where I am joined today, of course, by my co-host, Thomas, the wonderful and amazing Thomas at the podcast studios in the office. How are you doing today, Thomas?
I'm doing great now that my audio levels are hopefully fixed, so let's rock.
Well, we will see.
I've been really looking forward to this episode. Yeah.
Well, we're hoping the audio levels will help with your enunciating so you don't mumble through everything, which apparently is an issue according to our YouTube comments. So
there's one guy. So,
but before we go into introducing our guest today, I actually want to share why you guys should care, because we're going to be talking about the number one biggest thing in your business, time bomb in your business, that no matter the kind of accounting you have, the operations you have, the marketing you have, all that will be useless in defending against this one thing if you don't address it. And that's what we're going to be sharing today. It's something that almost stole an incredibly successful entrepreneur's entire business, how it gave him probably more gray hairs than anything else in his life ever, but he's still looking fantastic. And that is the amazing Anik Singal. Anik, how are you doing today?
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. I am doing great, relatively speaking, and didn't almost steal my business. It did. It ended up completely ruining it. Actually, we were 6 weeks away from being acquired. We were through due diligence and everything. I was exactly 3 weeks away from stepping down as CEO and naming my right hand as the CEO and taking a year off to be dad, because my wife had just given birth to our first baby 3 weeks before I got the notice from the FTC.
Yes.
When I say you guys can sit there and play the violin for me as I talk through this episode, I really mean it. I mean it. And then after that, we've had other issues that happened throughout those 2 years. We had 2 babies, but then I lost millions in properties thanks to the interest rates going up, companies that we were our tenants going bankrupt. We got served multiple notices on different things. And so currently I sit at a place where I have total PTSD from receiving a certified letter or a FedEx package. Do not send it to me. I run for the hills.
Yeah.
So, I think one of the biggest things I've noticed about myself over the last 2.5 years is the amount of white hair I got. To say it's been stressful would be an understatement. But here I stand, as entrepreneurs should, and prepared and ready to rebuild and to serve yet again.
Well, that's exciting. That's not exciting. I mean, it's an amazing tragedy, in all honesty. Like, what a horrible, horrible timing. And yes, guys, this is a true story and something you should pay attention to, because those 3 words that we'd like to ignore and like to just deny are big ones and could really substantially change your business, even when you think you're doing everything right. And that is the FTC. And that's what we're going to be talking about today with Anik, which, as he mentioned, very successful entrepreneur towards an exit, towards every entrepreneur's dream, to build that exit, get to the point that you're exactly having the freedom that you want, and to only have it taken away from you by the FTC and so many other things. What a freaking nightmare. So let's start there with that nightmare, Anik. If you could actually just walk the people back a little bit, even more into your tragedy here. I know it's you talk about it a lot, but it can never feel good to talk about. Just tell the people a little bit more about, what got you that successful business, and then what happened with that awful security email coming from FedEx, or not email, but letter coming from FedEx that started an 18-month long nightmare.
Yeah. So for anyone who doesn't know me, I've been an online marketer now for 21 years. I started in college. I'm 41 years old. I literally made my first money while I was still in college, and I graduated college and just went full time. And my first year out of college, we did over $1 million in revenue, which today doesn't sound like that much, but you got to go back 20 years. That was huge.
That's significant.
I found information marketing and have just been in information marketing forever. And I ended up building this dream to build a publishing company where we would publish content and courses from great entrepreneurial coaches all over the world and help empower the dream of entrepreneurship for people online, right? All different kinds of facets: affiliate marketing, e-commerce, coaching, consulting, all these types of models that we would cover. And I ventured out to build a business that was really, really hard to do. We were near bankruptcy multiple times. The type of team, the type of acumen and talent that it took was very difficult to find at one point. So in 2022, we were on our track, pretty much solid track to hit 40 million that year in revenue and at about over 20% profit margin. But people hear that and think, wow, that's amazing. Yeah, it took me everything I was made of to be able to make that happen, guys. It was really, really hard to do. And I invested millions, and I hired the best of the best, and I made lots of mistakes. but I was committed to building this. Now, by the time 2022 came around, I was so burned out on building it too. And I'd been doing the same thing for 20 years, but I had built something tremendous. I had an amazing team and it had value, and I got a great acquisition offer. The first one, we almost went through with them, and then we pulled out last minute. Then I got an even better offer from an even bigger private equity firm that I really liked. And we were at the late stages of selling to them. And then, of course, the notice came. So I always knew coming into this, guys, that we were in a risque environment, right? We were in a heavily regulated space. Funny enough, most spaces are heavily regulated. It's crazy. Like, no matter what industry you're in, the founder of that industry will be like, the company will be like, I'm in a heavily regulated industry. It's like,
Yeah.
so are we.
It's
just
called America.
it's called America, especially in today's America. So,
Yep.
it's there's so many 3-letter agencies, and so every industry has its own, FTC, so to say. So I knew about the FTC, I knew about the risks, I knew about the dangers. I had an FTC attorney for the longest time. I spent a lot of money on it, and here's the common understanding we had about the FTC. Okay, the common understanding was just do good, be good, and you're good. I mean, it's like the simplest way I can explain it, and it made sense. So the common understanding was, look, the Federal Trade Commission, okay, which is, truth be told, a great organization. I know people hear me say that and they're like, oh, you're just bullshitting. I really don't have any qualms against them. I'm being honest with you guys. I don't agree with all the rules. I don't agree with how they administer the rules. But that's their prerogative. And if I want change in that, I can do it through voting. I mean, I can do what I'm supposed to do and lobby for that, and but as long as I don't, and as long as the rules are the rules, you follow them or pack your crap and move, right? Like, I'm completely of that type of mentality. So I was always on the sidelines cheering the FTC on, because I would see the types of players they took down, and it was like, these people need to be taken down. And what was told in the industry for a longest time was, look, if you don't get a lot of complaints, like, the FTC is there to protect consumers, and so if there's nothing to be protecting from, they're not going to waste their time and resources, because there's enough bad players out there. They're going to focus on them. So I said, okay, great. How do I KPI this so I can make sure I'm not getting complaints? So, guys, over the course of 20 years, we probably sold to, not probably, I know we've sold to over 150,000 unique customers worldwide. Just since 2015, we've done almost 247,000 transactions, more than that. We were doing 20,000 transactions a year, anywhere from $1 to $10,000. And in my entire tenure, never once have I received a legal notice, ever, from a customer, from a vendor, a contractor, or anybody. BBB rating, A. We had 20 complaints a year on 20,000 transactions. 100% resolved, all good. Refund rate, less than 5%. Chargeback rate, less than like 0.6%. Same merchant account processing for well over 10, 15 years. So we, customer support team, 36-minute average response time, 24 hours a day, holidays and weekends included. I had 3 support teams in 3 different time zones. So I built a machine that I spent millions building that served the customer and made sure they were happy. And if they weren't, we took care of them. So honestly, by the time I actually got the FTC notice, was probably when I was the least concerned that I would. Because as far as I understood, hey, everyone's happy. Like, there's no real reason to come for me.
Yeah.
And I had a full-time paralegal working in the company. Listen, I used to suffocate my sales team. I'm telling you, they had so many rules and regulations. You could not 401k loan. You could not split credit cards. You could not take out a second equity home line. We did not sell a damn thing over $10,000. We actively listened to every sales call that led to a sale. That was the paralegal's job. And we would refund anyone that we felt even 5% was, told something we didn't. So I just built, this was way before the FTC came for us. And so I know when you read the complaint letter against me, I sound like the most evil person on the planet. And look, guys, you've got to remember, there are 2 sides to the coin here. When whoever it is at the FTC who wrote that letter about me is obviously not going to sing praise about me. Their job is, they were on the other side of the table. I get it. Right. But at the same time, facts are facts. Numbers are numbers. I couldn't be out here saying the numbers I just told you guys had they not checked out. Right. I mean, they would be ridiculous. I'd just get myself sued again. And so they were facts. Facts are facts. And but somewhere over the last few years, the ideology, it seems, I'm not a lawyer and I can't back this up. But I've literally heard them say, because one of our first lines of defense was, hey, what gives? We don't have any complaints. Who complained? Like, what's the issue? Like,
Yeah.
and what we heard back was, that's irrelevant. And I'm like, huh? thought that was the most relevant thing this whole time. And they said, rules are rules. And then it makes sense, right? If you're speeding down a road and you're going 20 miles above the speed limit and a cop pulls you over, you can't be like, what? There's no one around. Like, what's the problem? I'm not going to hurt anybody. No, rules are rules. And so they've kind of moved into this new territory. What I feel from seeing how they're administering the rules is that rules are rules, period. And so, yeah, man, we got hit, and the rules were rules. And the crazy thing is, it all came down eventually, for a multitude of reasons, which I won't get into because it'll take too long. But basically, legally speaking, they could only really come for me for the sales team activity, the phone sales team, which was ironic. And thank God I was never that focused on it. So it was only about 20-ish% of our revenue. And so it dropped the case's overall volume by a lot. But it really came down to 4 words. Had these 4 words never existed on our sales calls, my lawyer tells me, I don't know. My lawyer tells me that my entire case would have been radically different, maybe even dropped. And those 4 words on the sales calls were, what is your goal? Because
that's crazy.
It's crazy. But when you ask, and now they call it goal setting. Go ahead right now and Google it. Google for any public disclosure, any statement from the FTC ever publicly that says goal setting is not allowed. They don't do it. But Greg Christiansen, my co-author in this book, has been in meetings with the leadership at the FTC multiple times where they look at him and say, did your client ask this question? And he says, yes. And they say, that's an implied earnings claim. Its goal setting is considered an implied earnings claim. It's covered under the definition of implied earnings
So
claim.
even though the customer or lead is the one setting the goal, it's still an implied earnings claim to the FTC's eyes, because you're going to help them get that goal, I guess.
Here's how it plays out. So Thomas, great to have you on the call today. So tell me, like, what's your goal? How much do you want to be earning? Like, what's your goal?
I want to make $1 million.
You want to make $1 million? That's amazing, man. Why? What is it that drives you to make $1 million?
I want a Ferrari.
I want a Ferrari. Well, listen, I'm so confident that we can help you get there, man, if you apply what we teach you. So let's talk about how we can help you get that Ferrari. Boom.
Gotcha. Right? That's it right there. Because you're putting the idea that you're going to get that Ferrari if you do our thing.
And the thing is, if you ask the damn question and Thomas says, I want to make $1 million, and I, as a salesperson, I'm like, that's a great goal, Thomas, but here's the deal, man. We can't make any promises. We don't make any. It's so awkward. It's so uncomfortable. So most normal humans would respond, be like, man, it's awesome. Like, good for you. Like, well, let's talk about what it would take to get there. And there's just no way, unless you refute that, jump on them, bite their head off, and say, like, disclaimer. And so there you go. And throughout this whole investigation, guys, you go through all of the stages of grief. So you went through denial. I went through denial. I went through like emphatic confidence the first 30 to 60 days that this was a mistake. Someone had just clicked like the wrong button and like they had the wrong guy and that they would find out. 60 days in, you're like, okay, this is not going away. They got the right guy according to them, but they're wrong. They're going to now learn they're wrong and they'll apologize and go away. So you go through like all these phases, and despite like 3 or 4 months in, you realize, dude, they are right where they want to be and they ain't going nowhere. And if they don't find something, they're going to dig deeper and deeper. And so we turned over 600,000 documents in discovery to them.
Wow.
And eventually they found the one thing. And when I started talking to the attorney, so we brought on Greg Christiansen at that point as well. And this guy is like an exquisite compliance attorney, 20 years of experience in this. I mean, he does this in his sleep. I have a joke with him. I'll be like, well, why can't I say this? He's like, well, Anik, in 2010, case, blah, 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 page 539, block clause 1242. And you're like, okay, never mind, dude. So
it's like somebody in baseball stats.
Yeah. So I started learning more stuff, guys. And I thought, how have I been in this industry for 21 years? And I'd like to think I'm one of the good guys. And I think the industry is even backing me up on that, because if I wasn't, guys, there's no chance you'd have me on this podcast. ClickBank wouldn't want to associate their name with me if they didn't truly think that, no, Anik's not a bad person. Well, how is it that one of the good guys in the industry for 20 plus years, one of the leading experts and marketing trainers, has never understood any of these rules? It's never been presented to me. And I've even spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on legal fees. So that was when my eyes opened and I said, I think my mission after this has to be to get the message out to people so they don't experience this. And one thing led to another, and here I am.
Well, that's amazing, man. I really appreciate it. I always want to dial back because I think we covered so much in that little tidbit there. But one of the things that really stands out to me is, again, just the health of the business, right? I think this would, for so many people out there, they think, I like you thought yourself, there would have to be a mistake for me to get audited. But great refund rate, great chargeback rate, especially in the info space. I mean, those are good for supplements, let alone the info space and anything high ticket, mid ticket, low ticket, whatever. Um, Substantially amazing rates. In spite of that, with great operations, great everything else, it still wasn't enough because, like they said, the rules are the rules, and sometimes those rules aren't easy to even understand. As we just saw, it came down to those words on a call, which sounds like to me every basic selling tactic. Like I feel like 101 selling was to ask that question, but to know that question in
Look,
itself could create a problematic scenario kind of
let me
blows
give
my
you
mind.
Kyle, let me give you an example. So I just got messaged by, so this is kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
We have now 900 people. We've sold over 2,000 copies of the book because we're just getting started. And about 900 of the buyers have joined us in a private Facebook group that you get welcome to. And they're turning into, I jokingly say, they're turning into like soldiers. They're like generals of the compliance revolution. And we've got this whole thing going on. And it's fun. And one of them today just messaged me. There's a very, very prominent marketer. Love the guy. He's nothing but good. Big podcaster. And she messaged me because she said that this individual sent out an email today teaching people how they can increase the number of results-based testimonials that they get. Exact words used. And the irony of it is, I got the email forwarded to me. It's great. It's great tactics, great training, amazing. Like I said, the person behind it is a solid, awesome human being, a great marketer, ethical, integrity, everything. But what that person doesn't realize is that they're actually teaching their audience to do the number one thing that's literally the number one risk factor of getting investigated by the FTC. So what they are doing is helping their audience learn how to do more of the number one thing that the FTC is right now cracking down on.
Oh, man.
I guarantee you they're not doing it because they're evil and want to get all of their subscribers in trouble. They just don't know. They have no idea. And even when they
clarify, that
find
is
out the
getting
first time, they're going to
testimonials.
be,
Yeah.
what's that, Thomas?
To clarify, that's getting testimonials, like the fake
Yeah, so
testimonials, things like that.
results-based testimonials right now, I mean, since 2021, the FTC has released multiple press releases and multiple very, very official warnings, including one just a week and a half ago, that are specific around the usage of testimonials and very specific around the usage of results-based testimonials. And there are some very specific rules you have to abide and follow by that are not easy. And 98, 99% of marketers are not abiding by them. And they know that. They know that. So when you publish a results-based testimonial that says, I made, so-and-so made $10,000 thanks to my training, you are proud and happy and saying, look, guys, it works. Look, FTC, it works. And so you're like pushing as many of those as you can, yet you don't realize that on their meter, you're not the good guy. The more you do that, you're the bad guy, because the next question they come and ask you is, oh, that's cool. We see that you have 10 testimonials that are really, really good. Congratulations. How many customers do you have in total? 1,000. Oh, wow. Where are the other 990? Well, I don't know. So you cherry picked your best 10 to represent the entire 1,000 when the actual mass portion of your customer base don't have any results at all? Well, but they don't actually do anything with it. I don't know what they're doing and not doing. Do you do anything to address that? Well, what do you mean? Well, have you surveyed your audience? Have you tried to increase consumption? Maybe there's a problem with your product, the way it's delivered. Don't you think that's a problem? And you get wrapped up in this conversation, and before you know it, even you're like, holy shit, I think I'm evil. Like, I think I'm a really bad person, right?
Yeah.
And so you don't realize how it's perceived and the amount of disclosures and substantiation necessary. And it's very, very clearly written in the Federal Trade Commission Act. It's so clear, congressionally clear, that testimonials, results-based testimonials to be used must represent the results of a typical customer. Now, the blessing in disguise here is you can define your typical customer. So your typical customer doesn't have to just be a buyer. You can say, hey, for our typical customer who buys and completes our program and goes through the 90-day blah, 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 the average result is this. But then you got to have a study that backs that up, not just your conjecture or a few testimonials. You have to have a proper study that says, no, this is literally the result of our average customer who does the blah, blah, blah. And
When
if
you
you
say
do that,
study,
then
is that
great.
like just internal BI teams looking at data, or does that have to be like an actual third-party study from some other three-letter agency?
So in your case, guys, right? You'd have a BI team look at the data, which is very substantiatable, but most people would never have that. If I'm teaching someone how to be an affiliate, I don't have access to any of that data. So in that situation, I'd have to hire someone to do a proper survey and, blah, 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 and make sure it's statistically valid and, cross test it. And then ideally get a lawyer, a compliance attorney like Greg, to review it and give you a memo letter back saying, hey, I feel confident that this represents a typical scenario, so that if you get asked about it, you could say, here's all the data and here is the third-party credentialing of it. Now, they don't have to agree, but the chances of them agreeing and saying, because they're going to say, okay, at least you weren't just blindsidedly saying crap. You went out of your way to substantiate it. Here's another thing. For example, right? So when they came to me and started asking me for proof of all these things, I was like, no problem. Let me go out and get these testimonials right now. I'll go contact my customers. And my lawyer goes, break. Nope. Don't you dare do it now. So what do you mean? They're like, that's beside the point. If you go now and get stuff that substantiates stuff you said a year or 2 years ago, they'll say, doesn't matter, because when you said it, you didn't have the substantiation for it. So you're still making it up at that time. That's what they'll say. So it's like, they want to see that you made a conscious effort to get that typical result. And then your testimonials, because you're going to have ones that are extreme, right? If the testimonial typical is I make $1,000 a month, you're going to have the guy that or the gal that makes the $100,000. You still can't use it. If it's and it's not enough. So here's the crazy thing. People think, well, I'll just disclose it. Hey, this is not, results are not typical. Okay, here's the crazy thing about disclosures and disclaimers that I learned. Damned if you do and damned if you don't. You must have them, but they alone are not enough. So the rules basically says this: you must have disclosures and disclaimers, but doesn't allow you to break the rules. So I again equate it to like student driver, right? You put a student driver tag on the back of the car, and sure, people will be a little bit, but that doesn't authorize that driver to break all the laws of driving. Just because a sign is there.
It just might explain why they did. That's all it did.
Yeah, but they'll still get in trouble for it. So just because you put a disclaimer doesn't mean you can break those rules.
Yeah.
It seems like compliance is such a slippery slope for people because, right, a lot of people aren't experts. Very few people are experts in compliance, and they see all these other marketers breaking the rules, doing things wrong, scaling with those kind of tactics. Like, what do you say to those people who are going, well, if I don't break the rules, I can't compete because everyone else is breaking the rules?
Such a great question. Okay, so I got a whole monologue about this because I went through a whole thing about this myself. So there was a period of time, Thomas, when I was starting to learn the rules, and as a case was coming to a close, my lawyers were like, all right, let's go. Let's go. I had to shut down the company, not because the FTC said it. Guys, $40 million company went poof in front of my eyes within a few days. It was because of the following. I was 80% of my revenue came from publishing deals, meaning other people's face and name being promoted by our company as one of our experts. 80% of our revenue. Now, I don't have to tell them when I'm under investigation. I do not have to tell them that I am going to that I'm going through this, but that's not my character. So of course I'm going to tell them. So I got the notice on Friday. By Monday morning, I had booked calls with them that Monday. But Monday morning, 9 a.m., I called my team and I said, look, what is a average person going to do when I tell them this? They're going to ask me to take their campaigns down. Obviously, I would do the same. So let's get ahead of it and let's shut everything down. So at 9 a.m. Monday morning, the company, we shut everything down. We shut the ads down and everything. We lost the whole business in front of our eyes by choice because I knew that was what just the right thing was to do. So where am I going with this is that when it was time to start turning the faucets back on, I was like, everything is not compliant. I don't understand how the hell I'm supposed to sell in this industry, so I might as well just go buy some Subway franchises. Not sure even if that's compliant. Can I put a banner up on my window? You know,
Yeah.
like my subs aren't going to look like the ones in the picture. Like, am I going to get sued for that? Like, you know, there was a period where I got like bitter about it. I'm like, this is just. Remember one thing though, guys. The rules are written by lawyers in lawyerese on purpose. Those in control write the laws that obviously will favor them. If you are in a deal with someone and you're going to write the contract, your contract's going to favor you. It's just how it is, right? And then so that law is written to favor, and it's written with a lot of open, moldable, open kind of terminology. So this book, we express that in the most strictest of fashions. Meaning, if you follow the rules in this book, you're like there's like no gray, right? You are good. So I thought, how am I supposed to do this? And I'm, by the way, on 10 years parole. I like to call it. That's not what they call it, but I call it that. I have to check in once a year with my parole officer. And I have to, for 10 years, I have to talk about what I'm doing. I have to do complete disclosure. So they get oversight on me and my first one's coming up here in a month or two. Oh yeah, dude, it's just a bit of overkill. Like that's where I say, like, I don't agree with kind of the way things happened. Like, I really am not, I'm banned from certain national banks now. Like, really?
Oh my gosh.
Like, yeah, like I'm, there's a particular bank that closed my trading account and sent me my money and just sent a check and said, have a good life. Here's the funny thing. I was so grateful because I forgot I had that account. And so I just forgot about the money. So I'm like, thank you for sending me my money. But back to your question, Thomas, what I've discovered is compliant marketing not only works, damn well it works better, man. If today you came to me, Thomas, and you waved a magic wand and you said, poof, the FTC is gone, Anik. Nothing ever happened. You're not under any risk. You may proceed and go back to what you're doing. I would look you dead in the eyes and say, no, thank you. I'm going to keep doing exactly how I'm doing it. And I'll tell you why. I always tell people, imagine a vertical line, okay? So does compliant marketing drop your conversions? Yes. And no. Well, what the hell does that mean? Okay. I want you to start thinking about your customer base in the following way. Up market, down market. I don't mean this in a derogatory or condescending way at all. Down market would be the equivalent of, in the investing world, what we would say an unaccredited investor, right? Down market can also include people that are more vulnerable, more desperate, maybe less likely to understand the intricacies, less equipped to understand the intricacies. Up market would be, for example, yourselves, right? You guys are in the space, you're professionals, you've college educated, you know the space, and you're not desperate. You're not worried about where the next meal's coming from or where the next credit card bill is being paid. So what happens is when we market, and we use a lot of the tactics that we're learning from these marketers, generation over generation, it's gotten worse and worse because of this competitive nature. But here's the thing, Thomas, when is the last time you saw a webinar presentation where the guy said, and this strategy could make you $128,000 by next month, just like it did for Kyle and for this and that, and thought Kyle, and this is you, Thomas, and thought, holy shit, I better get a part of this right away. That's not what you think.
No, it's
An
red
upmarket
flag.
person thinks, I'm the hell
Yeah.
out of here, right? So what's interesting is that very hypey marketing that you're seeing, it actually attracts the down market. The down market is less likely to actually be able to do what you're teaching. They are more likely to refund, more likely to complain. They're more vulnerable. Hence, the FTC and other government organizations are more worried about protecting them. And they're far more likely to churn out and far less likely to buy your back end. Interesting. And at the same time, that same hypey market turns away the upmarket customers who are more likely to actually apply what you're teaching, more likely to stick around, and more likely to buy your back end, and less likely to complain, and the regulators are less worried about them. Mm-hmm. Now you go switch it. You flip from hypey marketing to trust-based marketing. So Thomas, we're on the same webinar, and I'm like, hey guys, I'm here to teach you search engine optimization or social media or how to podcast. I've been doing this for 15 years. I can tell you right now, if you're expecting crazy results in less than 6 months, it's not even going to happen. I'm going to show you how to set up the infrastructure, the framework that it grows and it builds. And I talk to you about the skills. I talk to you about stacking the wins. And I talk about all the things that you understand to be innately true, Thomas. You go, man, I'm in. I want to learn all these things. And that down market goes, I don't want anything to do with it. So the conversions drop on the down market and go up on the up market. And what I have seen is I am attracting far better customers. I'm getting a much higher LTV. My support team is like, they're on like vacation. They're chilling. Like our support systems are great. Refunds, I don't even know, we haven't had a chargeback in months. Like I didn't even know it's possible, right? And it's a complete evolution. It's eye-opening to me to realize there are amazing ways to do most of what you're doing in a compliant way that actually attracts the right customers and repels the wrong ones. Most businesses right now, if you're listening to this and if you truly think compliant marketing couldn't work, I ask you to answer one question to yourself. Do it yourself and do it honestly. What kind of business are you building and what type of customer are you attracting? Honestly, really, are you attracting the best customers that allow your business to stack over years, or are you on a treadmill constantly churning them out? The answer to that alone, forget about the regulators, forget about the regulatory risk and all that. Just the answer to that question alone should start getting you to change your marketing messaging.
Yeah.
And
No,
something
that's
too,
good.
like if
Okay.
you're building that and then testing that copy with, say, an affiliate partner or someone who has a list built on down market people, then yeah, the conversions are going to look terrible because they've built their whole list on the down market people. They've got that traffic hitting your now up market
Yep.
messaging. So it's like you really have to be able to dial into the traffic type too. That's going to be right for that.
It's Thomas. Another way I've explained it is, and Greg talks about this all the time. So Greg gets really frustrated because he'll work with a client that spent the last 10 years marketing non-compliantly and doing all the hypey things. They get this bolt of energy, and they'll go rewrite their whole thing, and then they'll market it the exact same way with the same ads, the same audience, the same list, and it doesn't do well, and they get all worked up in a hissy fissy and say compliant marketing doesn't work. And Greg will be like, I don't understand why you thought as a reasonable human that that would even work. Like it takes time. So the better analogy I have is, let's say you've been going to the gym for a year, okay? And all you do is curls. Like you just curl, man. Your biceps are freaking amazing. But you don't do anything other than curls. You just go in, you freaking curl for half an hour and you leave. Then all of it, now you're big though. Your arms look big, you look good. But a year later you're like, let me try this tricep. So all of a sudden you're trying to pull the tricep. Guess what? It's hard. Even though you're really strong in one direction, the other direction's not that strong. But if you could do it for a month, if you could do it for 2 months, 3 months, guess what's going to happen? The triceps are going to get stronger too, and it's going to be easy. So it's like everything. The current things that you've learned in your marketing took you months, if not years, to learn. They've become second nature now because you're surrounded by them. Well, the same thing can happen with compliant marketing, but if you're expecting to rip a Band-Aid and it's just going to work, that's not going to happen. It's going to be a transition, but I'm telling you, the overall long-term benefits of that transition far, far outweigh the short-term pain that you'll go through. For me, it's just a no-brainer. I mean, I go to bed every night now, not only proud of what I'm selling, proud of how I'm selling it, and knowing that I'm good, man. Like I don't have to look over my back, even though I literally have to look over my back since for 10 years I'm being watched. But I'm confident out there marketing because, well, just I'm following the rules and it's working.
Well, I think what's great. What I really loved about that is I think one piece that people often miss, and you highlighted very well, Thomas, is different marketing is different consumers, right? So oftentimes the aggressive marketing, we'll say that the aggressive non-compliant marketing is because that's who you're targeting, is the buyers at the low end that will only consume that type of marketing. So it's not that you can't market compliantly, you just have to target a different user, which I would argue not all products could be marketed compliantly, but that's a product issue, mainly because you probably don't have a very good product. And if you tried to stand it up on its own, you might have a problem, right? So I think there's the factors that play in there. That sometimes if you take all the lipstick off a pig and try not to sell pork, you're going to have an issue.
Yeah.
But if you make sure that your product fits the audience, and then you could go market towards that upmarket audience, it is incredibly beneficial. And I would still argue right now, really, really beneficial right now, because your upmarket individuals are actually very, very hot buyers from, finding high quality products that are going to make money online and opportunities. Yeah. And so I think
Look,
that the conversions are great right now to go after that market if you
yep.
could do it in a compliant way.
I learned one thing, because I was going after the wrong customers, and scaling was really, really hard. There was a lot of resistance because I wasn't stacking customers, right? And one thing I've come out and learned that I tell entrepreneurs now all the time is that which builds easily or quickly will crumble even quicker.
Hmm.
And that which takes time to build will last you a lifetime. So us marketers in at least this ecosystem of info marketing, we're a little spoiled because we're used to seeing other people like go from 0 to 1 million super fast and do a product launch and get a bunch of affiliates. And next thing you know, you've done $500,000 to $1 million in revenue. But the thing is, what have you really built? Have you actually built a business, or have you just built yourself a really high paying job? Right? Which every year or every 2 years, you got to recirculate, redo a new product, and keep those relationships going. And it's just and that's your choice. It's a lifestyle business though, and it's one that's going to always need you to be doing, versus building a company that stacks customers. But that takes time. Like right now we're building Complyly and building our software and building this, like this book. It's taken me 6 months now to just kind of perfect the funnel, and I'm just steady. We're at least, this is the first week, the week that we're filming this, where I'm ready to start scaling it. I'm ready to start
Nice.
upping the budget 10-20%. It's taken me 6 months of testing the software, a year and a half in now. I'm $500,000 of investment in. I'm probably another $200,000 to $300,000 of investment needed before that thing really has the right power for me to take it to enterprise clients and be able to start swinging. It's probably going to be losing money for another 6 to 12 months. And my average customer right now, it takes me weeks, if not months of courting to get them to buy. It sucks, but I'm going to hit a tipping point here. I know it's going to take whatever time. So this short-term pain means long-term gain, because the type of customers we get are going to stack. They're going to stay with us, and they're going to just get more and more. And every year my revenue will go up and up and up. But I just people need to ask themselves a true business level question. What is the customer you're attracting? What is the product you're selling? And if you feel like you have to use all this hype and you could not attract up market into your business, I'm sorry to say, man, you got to take a step back and ask yourself, what kind of business have you really built? And is that the business you really want? Not judgmental. You might just say, yeah, I don't care. I want to make some really good money. I don't give a crap. Okay, no problem. That's your personal decision. For me, that wasn't enough. I want to build something that's got intense value, that I can step away from, that I can sell, that I can stack. And I thought I was building that in the last company, and as it turns out, I wasn't. And I've seen the light of that.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that really is bumbling around my head with all sorts of questions still in terms of, hey, is this compliant? Is that not compliant? Right. And going down that rabbit hole. I think a lot of people are sitting here and probably a little bit nervous, right? They're just scared because it feels scary when you're like, well, am I doing it right? Maybe you right now know that you're not doing it right. And you're like, if he thought he was following the rules and got busted, what's going to happen to me if I know I'm breaking the rules? So I'm sure a lot of people are listening to this and a little bit nervous. So I think the big question is, how do they start getting better and getting help with this? Does it start with the book, or what would be the steps you'd recommend for people to kind of level themselves up in this area so they don't find themselves having their business and their dreams ripped away from them by a secure letter from FedEx coming to their home?
That's a great question, and I don't want to be here to scare anyone, guys. This is not the purpose of what I'm doing. It's awareness, and so for some people, awareness has to, the vehicle that brings awareness is fear. Okay, fine. For others, it's not necessary. I want to give you some confidence here too. I want to give you some relief here too. Look, this is not legal advice. I'm not a lawyer, and my lawyer would never ever back me up on saying this, but he's kind of giving me the side head nod. I was like, okay, think of an empty glass. Okay, this is how the FTC, in my opinion, works. I don't think because you make one mistake, there isn't someone around the corner saying, "Ah, gotcha." That's not how it is. It's not a gotcha type of situation.
Yeah.
But think about, you have a glass, and so people say, "Oh, I'm not big enough. I'm just a small company. Only big companies get hit." That's not true, by the way. There are multiple cases that have settled for 15 grand. One guy had to sell his watch to pay them off. One guy had to sell his minivan to pay them off. They go after smaller players too. I know of a company right now that was doing $500,000 a year that's had a full asset freeze. The person lost everything. They took every penny to his name. And so big or small doesn't matter. The reason you think that is because bigger companies just get more publicity, right? We hear about them more. But think of an empty glass. Every time that you make some form of mistake, some violation that is discussed in this book right here that you end up making a mistake on, think that a drop of water gets put into the glass. Now, bigger companies, when they make a small mistake, it's magnified. More customers, more leads, more people see it. So the water pours a little bit higher. So you might say that the glass fills up faster for bigger companies. Now, once the water overpours, the regulators come knocking. Now, we're not just talking about FTC. There's state AGs, there's consumer lawsuits, and then now there's a big uptick in class action lawsuits going on as well. especially out of California. So we cannot get rid of your risk. No business. It's like getting in the car. I can't guarantee you're not going to get into an accident, but we can drastically reduce the chances of you getting into an accident. Put your seatbelt on, make sure you follow the rules, don't drive fast, stay in the right lane, like use your clickers. If you do all of those things, it's statistically proven the chances of you getting into an accident are significantly lower. So what you can do right now, first and foremost, is I don't mean to be self-promotional, but like I don't make any money on this book. I actually lose money when you buy the books. Get the book. Right, go to don'tsaythat.com, get the book, read it. It's a fun read. I know, I just said something about compliance and legalese.
You made it fun.
It is a fun read. Yeah.
It's written by me. I'm a traditionally trained copywriter, guys. It's written by me, but it's Greg's knowledge, and it's full of stories. It's full of examples. It's a quick read, but you actually will understand what is in Section 5 of the Federal Trade Commission Act, which oversees advertising guidelines. I promise you, you'll be blown away. Rule number 1, awareness and understand. Rule number 2 is there are legal disclosures and documents that you can put on your site and in your marketing that immediately significantly reduce your risk. So if you buy the book and you get in, there's a webinar that we do. That webinar goes over what these documents are and gives you the ability to even get them done for you by us, by Greg, not me. Now, so immediately implement those documents. Okay, number 3, you've got to go one at a time. So what you're going to do is you're going to look at your marketing. The first thing you're going to want to do, this is the first door they're currently using, testimonials. You want to immediately go and get your testimonials compliant because they're publicly saying this is the door that we're coming in the most, right? So if I'm going to rob your house, Thomas, and I tell you that I am coming in through that back door, Thomas, I'm coming in through the back kitchen door. I will not use any other door. I will use the back kitchen door tonight at midnight, Thomas, to rob you. What are you going to do?
I'm going to bolster that door.
Fortify that door, right?
Yeah, it's going to be like Home Alone.
Home Alone. So that's what they've done. And honestly, it's on us now as marketers. Like they have been pretty clear since 21 now. It's 4 years saying testimonials. So get in, clean up the way you do testimonials. And we teach you exactly how to do that in the book, by the way. And number 2, claims. That's the second door. Okay. That's the door to the side of the house. Claims. Now, what do I mean by claims? Okay. So this became a 10-day long part of the 18-month investigation. It was just making me want to bang my head against the wall. I used to say something in my marketing that I was voted top 3 entrepreneurs under 25 by Business Week magazine. Pretty innocent statement, true, but the problem is Business Week got bought out by Bloomberg. Bloomberg came in and hit nuke and destroyed Business Week, got rid of their website, got rid of all the sites. It was a long time ago. It was like 15 years ago. I couldn't find the physical magazine anywhere, couldn't find anything on eBay, and I couldn't find online because all the URLs were gone. And that's a claim. And the FTC said, you're lying. We can't find it. Prove it. Thank God for Wayback Machine. I found the URL, went to Wayback Machine, bam, there it is. And it went away. The minute I said, here it is, they said, okay. So look for every absolute statement, we call it, in your copy and make sure you have a undeniable substantiation of it. And so those 2 alone with the legal documents will significantly drop your risk. And then there's a bunch of other things. So really it's a combination of first learn and understand. And you know what? There's a lot of people, Kyle, that are gonna be like, I don't really want to do that. And that's why we built the software. So if you don't want to do that, let the software do the thinking for you. If you don't know what an absolute statement is, guess what? Our software does. It'll find all of them in your copy in minutes and let you know you need to substantiate all of this. And we have a feature coming in 2 weeks. I don't know when this is releasing, but from the day we're filming it, that's called a substantiation bank, which means everything it finds, you can just click the substantiate button, upload your substantiation, and we'll hold on to it for you, tie it to your piece of marketing. God forbid anyone ever asks, bam, it's all right there.
Woo, that is awesome. That's almost like identity theft protection for a marketer in the FTC to have that, because who the hell is going to remember all their substantiation from everything they've ever written or hired somebody to write? That is huge. Well, I mean, amazing first steps. And I think that's such a, honestly, truly a gift to the market to give such a, not only great advice, but really great steps to go out and protect yourself and at least make it a choice. I think the big thing is oftentimes people might be operating like you, where they think they're making the right choice without all the information. And I think that's the part that worries me the most. You might be out there thinking you're doing the right thing. You're protecting yourself and you're making all the right decisions to be a true good entrepreneur, right? Not that there's anything bad if you don't, just if that's your intent, you need to actually know what you should know, not what you think you know. And this book is going to get you there. And anybody that even still, if you think, it's not going to happen to me, you need to read Don't Say That more than anything. Just remember that it can. And here's the easy things to do to at least start understanding that risk. So we'll make sure there's a link on the show notes too for people to go get the book, check out the software, just follow you on it as well. I'm sure there's tons of amazing information that you're putting out there. Like I know I've seen you already do some great posts, and just following you is a wealth of information. So at a bare level, if you don't get the book, start following Anik today, because this is just such impactful information. I just can't emphasize enough. If you care about your business and the future of your business, you definitely need to read this book, and so many times. Even if you're just hoping to go into business, this is definitely a great thing to do. Thomas, anything to say to the people out there about the book too, and just the conversation with Anik?
Just that, yeah, I think we were all shocked when you got under the gun for it. I mean, we know that you run a great business and you're one of the exemplary people in the space. So the fact that you're putting this as your new mission to kind of go out and help fix it is amazing. The book is great. We ordered some copies for the office over here. So we've been having people go through it and just kind of get up trained and stay in the know. I would just ask, like, yeah, where you said don'tsaythat.com is the best place to get the book. Where else can people find you? Where's the best place to kind of go?
Thank you. So don'tsaythat.com, guys, will take you to two places. We have a podcast as well. Every week we release an episode. Actually, this week, it's a really, really interesting episode titled, Can the FTC Put You in Jail? And so it was a really fascinating episode of how the FTC works with other organizations within the government. The answer to which is, by the way, no, the FTC is a civil organization, but they're known to partner up with the DOJ sometimes, and the DOJ can put you in jail. We have a podcast. So if you go to don'tsaythat.com, you'll be able to go straight to our podcast, or there's the big banner at the top that'll take you to the book. So don'tsaythat.com/go will take you straight to the book sales page, and you can get a digital copy for $7 or an in-person shipped copy for as little as $10. And then the other place I would really encourage you to go is to, if in case you want those legal disclosures and documents that are done for you so that you can, protect yourself, go to compliantacademy.com and join our academy, and you get those. They're a bonus to our members. Compliantacademy.com. And last but not least, of course, I think the most important is what helps you be lazy but yet be protected is Complyly. So COMPLILY, Complyly, COMPLILY.com. I don't know when this episode is going out, but by the time most likely it goes out, we're going to have a feature that lets you just put your URL in or copy paste up to 2,000 words for free to get your score. You
That's
can't
awesome.
see all the specific details unless you upgrade, but you can at least get your C score, compliance score, to see how good or bad we gauge your copy to be. And then we're launching our monthly payment plan now, so you'll be able to actually join for as little as $100 a month, which hasn't been out yet. It's been $1,000 a year or no deal. Now, there's a lot of benefits to being the annual, so I would still encourage you to do the annual, but lots of really cool things. As you can tell, we've been working hard to really provide a holistic services to this space. And I think we're finally getting there. So I'm excited about, what we can do for all the marketers out there.
Yeah. No, I love that we can never stop being marketers. Even you say this book, I think, who doesn't like easy success, right? That's just the perfect path. But AI obviously is able to do that, which is one of the most powerful things, taking marketing claims that are claimy and bringing them to be honest and true, which is compliance made easy with, Comply. And that's such an amazing software to have, not only protecting you on the front end, but on the back end too, with some of those features in terms of if something ever does happen. So that's fantastic. Well, again, I just really appreciate your time, Anik. This is amazing, helpful information. We're just so grateful that, one, you're able to make it through this. Like, obviously, more grade and more age than when you started, but you got through it with a great mission. And I think continued future success with really pairing and educating these entrepreneurs and the right people with the information they need to give out good businesses, good products, and make good revenue. And that's really what we're all about and really excited for. So for all our listeners, please go get the book, follow Anik, engage in this really, really critical information. Also, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, all the things, and be sure to email us at affiliated@clickbank.com with any questions. Questions for Anik as well, if you need to get a hold of him. But most importantly, questions for what shirt Thomas should wear next. So we're looking to expand his line. He likes florals. If you just have a really great print that you'd like to put Thomas in, be sure to email and we can make sure that we do that for future episodes. I don't think anyone takes me up on these crazy requests, but one day we will, and Thomas will be having a great outfit. So until then, what do we tell the people, Thomas?
We tell them happy scaling.
Happy scaling.
Yeah.
Yes, compliantly scaling. So beautiful. All right. Until then, you guys have a great one. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Anik.